You're listening to the Happy Hour on RNIB Connect Radio. Now, it is our sports special today, and we will be talking about the benefits of physical activity and the difference it can make on our well-being and our happiness. And joining us now to chat about his journey into sport and triathlon specifically is Rob from Blind Focus with Rob Sears YouTube channel.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
So let's chat about sport, and something you're very passionate about is triathlon. And how did you get into it?
I went to see my cousin Zoe race the London Triathlon, and I had not done any running, cycling, swimming for a long time. Watching her do her thing in London, it got me thinking that actually I'm 30 next year. I'd quite like to try a triathlon as one of my things to do next year when I'm 30. And I came back a year later, raced it. The race was horrible. As someone that was visually impaired, I found it really tricky. But I did the race, absolutely loved it. And I continued to do triathlon I'm still doing it now, but I don't race on my own anymore. I race with a guide, and I'm into Paratriathlon now.
And let's chat about that transition between triathlon and paratriathlon, because you had a bit of a break, and that was due to your sight deteriorating further.
It was. So if I was really honest with myself, I knew that I had a window of opportunity to race by myself. And so I was very aware from getting into the sport that it was not something that I should probably be doing on my own. Races can be quite dangerous. Obviously, you're swimming in open water for a lot of them, so you need to be able to see where you go in for that. The cycling is quite dangerous. Obviously, you're on roads, you're with other people also cycling at a fair speed. Running is less hazardous, but obviously there's trips, falls, you're running into things. So it's quite a dangerous sport for someone with a visual impairment to do by themselves. But I was always very much of a mindset that if someone says that I couldn't do it or shouldn't do it, then I was probably going to give it a go anyway. But I had a race in 2017, which was definitely a bad experience for me. And I knew after that race that I wasn't safe enough to be out there by myself anymore. I had to mourn the loss of that as an athlete, and come to terms with my eyesight deteriorating to a point where I couldn't do the thing that I loved anymore. So I sort of stepped away from the sport as an athlete and just got really into coaching, and I just threw my energy into helping other people achieve their goals in triathlon. I was still training, I just didn't have a focus for training. I was just training because I enjoyed it. So I would still go for runs with my now wife. We would go swimming. We've got indoor bikes, so I would cycle on that. I would go out on my bike following someone, and I was happy with that for a few years. And then the COVID lockdown came around, and obviously, like everyone did, I had a lot of time to process what I really enjoyed in the sport, and I missed the competition of racing. So that's when I started to look into disability sport and found paratriathlon.
You did something that I feel like a lot of people are faced with when they want to continue a sport they love, which is you had a think about, how do I make adaptations to make this sport work for me? So could you talk us through this?
One of the main problems that I had in the swim was that my sighting of the boys on the swim course was always very difficult. So swims in triathlon normally happen really early in the morning, and you will see that in the Olympics and the Paralympic triathlons that they all happen really, really early. So often you're dealing with poor light or the sun coming up and being in your face. So the swim was always a tricky part for me. In paratriathlon, you visually impaired swim with a guide, and you are linked with a elastic shoelace around the thigh, and you swim basically thigh to thigh with another swimmer. My responsibility to see where I'm going in the water is now passed over to somebody else, but it comes with other complications such as not knowing where you're swimming and just having faith that your guide knows where they're going and what they're doing is something that I found really hard to do in the early days, to relax and just let my guide get on with it. And luckily I've got a really good relationship with my guide, Andy. So the bike element, obviously it needed to go from me being on a single bike to a tandem. So a tandem road bike, it's quite something. So we borrowed one from a charity called Charlotte's Tandems, and they're a charity in the UK, and they give out bikes for people to just get experience of tandems. And it was really, really difficult, but I knew so badly I wanted to get into Paratriathlon, and so I knew I just had to get a tandem and get on with it, and break through the troubles I was having. So the tandem is great. It's actually the part that I enjoy the most now. So I have no brakes, I have no gears. My job is just to sit on the saddle, stay balanced and keep my head down and keep pedaling. And for someone that's cycled all my life, so to not have control of where you're going and what you're doing anymore, that again, it was a lot of trust. If we were going to be cycling off a cliff, then I would just have to relax and go with it, and just hope that my guys wouldn't do that to me and would keep us safe. And yeah, so far so good.
I mean, hopefully Andy would let you know if a cliff was coming up.
Yeah, hopefully. We've raced long enough now that he doesn't even tell me what's coming up. He just lets me get my head down and stay relaxed, and that's it. It's great.
I love how you use the words relaxed. However, I do know if you're doing these sports, you'll be extremely focused and probably giving it your all and sweating. Unless you're in the
Absolutely.
water.
Definitely. They're fun events, but I really enjoy that focus and a bit of pressure, and the dealing with the anxieties and stuff. But for me, I just have a real appreciation for the fact that I have someone that enables me to go and do what I enjoy doing. And I did triathlon for 13 years, and I'm in my second year doing paratriathlon, and we're learning all the time.
Well, you've actually just completed a paratriathlon in Swansea, I believe, with Andy. So what is the latest lesson you have added to your arsenal?
Well, so we've had a few races this year. So we had a duathlon in Alton Park. We were really happy with how we cycled. Unfortunately, it was sandwiched in between two runs that were very painful for me. I've been dealing with a hip and a back problem, so that caused a lot of nerve pain on that one. So then we moved on to Swansea, and that was a world triathlon race, and it was unlike anything we'd ever experienced before. So we had the blue carpets, just like they have in the Olympics and the World Triathlon Series for the professional athletes and the Paralympic elites. So it was a whole new experience, but we kind of felt a bit like rabbits in headlights. We'd never experienced anything. It felt very different. It felt quite pressured. And I think we allowed the occasion to get to us. Felt quite rushed. The start time was changed a little bit. So it wasn't the normal relaxed and chilled out setup that we're used to. We were a little bit stressed and a little bit under pressure. And then that came out in the race. And unfortunately on the bike section, I stood up as we were coming down a speed bump to try and get some power through the pedals, and my handlebars went skew with. So there was an awful squeak and my handlebars went wonky. So I was cycling half the bike section with a handlebar that was wonky. It was just a little test to kind of see how relaxed I could be and how we could deal with adversity, as well as the visual impairment and stuff like that. And we came through and we got to the run, had a good laugh about it, and finished it off. And then we've recently just been to Eastern Dorney for the British Championships, and we came third again, and we had a really good race. We learned what we needed to from the last two races and put a good performance in there. And we've got one more race this season in September, and we're hoping to go even better there.
Oh, well, absolutely going to be wishing you good luck for that one. Now, if you could describe the feelings that go, or the emotions that go through you when you complete a triathlon, what are they? So
for me, as a visually impaired person, and I'm severely sight impaired now, I think the first thing for me is relief. It's something that few people get to experience, and I'm grateful that I can. So it's kind of a gratitude and an appreciation of the teamwork that we put in to get there, the support that we've had from our my wife and Andy's fiance. He's got a small boy, Noah. So he gives up a lot to help me to kind of do what I do. So as soon as I finish line, I'm always very appreciative and kind of quite humbled by what people give up to support me. And then from that, it's just the feel-good factor of we've done another triathlon. As a coach, I'm always very quick to analyze what I've done and where I could improve and get better for the next time, because for me as an athlete, I want to make sure that even if I'm not winning races, I'm doing the best that I can do every time. The journey is as important for me as the destination. So as long as I'm improving and I'm working as hard as I can, then I'm always very happy.
And Rob, if you could give only one tip of advice to someone who is blind or partially sighted and perhaps thinking of getting back into sport or maybe picking up a brand new sport, what piece of advice would it be?
What I would say is someone who absolutely loves sport and loves being active and encourages other people to do so is just be confident that there are going to be people that will help you. There's going to be people that will look after you, make sure you know where you're going, what you're doing. You won't feel silly, you won't be on your own, but you've got to have the confidence to take that first step.
Thank you so much for speaking with us, Rob. And if you would like to keep up with what Rob is up to, check out his YouTube channel, Blind Focus with Rob Sears.